the anger is misdirected, because the anger shouldn't be at the people who are in that hotel. The anger should be, one, at the landlord, who clearly doesn't care about the local taxpayers, and the Home Office, who is refusing to process these people correctly and let them work in the way that everyone else is expected to do. Right. It's a very obscure 80s planning law, right? Which means if you're going to they've changed the purpose, they've changed the use of the building, right? So instead of it being a hotel, it's now become essentially a hostel or / residence, and so they needed to reapply for the application.
Use.
And then the concern now is that every council will have to receive an application from a particular hotel or residence that will say, we would like to use this area to house asylum seekers, and obviously the council will then be able to knock it back and say no. And if it probably won't even be the asylum seekers. It will probably just be a planning application that they don't read and they just stamp no on it.
Yeah.
They've sacked the person in charge of planning applications, and it's just like, one of those office toys that's like a bird, like pecking.
No.
It's just an automatic stamp. No.
Those like Chinese cats.
Yeah.
So this is interim, isn't it? But it feels like it's going to be more substantial than this. I imagine the council sort of rushing to post on Facebook being like, they're leaving. I've seen other councils saying the same, that they're taking legal advice. I think it's about 30,000 people currently in asylum hotels. But I mean, the question just really is, well, where should they go?
Well, no, that's the point.
Yeah.
And so the security minister was on broadcast this morning, and he was asked repeatedly, well, where are they going to go if not the hotels? And obviously the people who've been outside the asylum hotels will say, deport them. You can't.
Not a problem. We don't want them here.
Yeah, and it is actually your problem. It's just going to go into an HMO, a home of multiple occupancy, somewhere in that area or somewhere in someone else's area. And the thing that really did make me laugh was Kemi Badenoch talking about these sort of Nightingale hospital style camps that she wanted to build.
Yeah.
Honey, like let's put the morality aside for 1 minute, but where on earth are you going to build that? What council in their right mind is going to say, yeah, we'll take the detention centre. We'll have that. We'll put it right next to the nursery. Like,
and as you well know, Ava, from the reporting you've done here, those type of sort of temporary setups, if you like, they have serious problems with hygiene, with sanitation, and with disease, don't they?
With Manston, that was horrendous. They had, in what was the boat? In the Bibby Stockholm, you had Legionnaire's disease. That was
crazy.
That was quite nice. It was like do you know how like that sort of political thinker always wants to return us to the old ways of doing things? Like Legionnaires felt so antique.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like
it's like getting yellow fever.
Yeah.
Look, the answer is right. These people, their claims should be processed so you can ascertain whether or not they have a legitimate claim to asylum. And if they do, they should just live in accommodation like everybody else and integrate into our societies, right? Like, surely the aim should be not you all live in a hotel, you all live in an internment camp. It should just be you are now a part of this community. Here is a house you can rent.
Oh, you're missing the point. The brown.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I've forgotten. Yeah, sorry.
But they stopped processing pretty much altogether in 2014, apart from like a very, very slim number. So the backlog dates back to that. It's in the middle of, the first phases of austerity. All of the cutbacks made to the Home Office. They halt processing. They start putting people up in temporary accommodation. We're now at obviously there has been an increase in the number of people who are crossing the channel. But it is, if you compare this year to last year, it is actually marginal. People will, if you talk about it in percentage terms, yes, there is growth. It's 50,000. When you think about net migration is 750,000, that is actually quite a small proportion. Is your anger misdirected?
Calling freelancers, small and mid-sized business owners. Tide's Instant Saver account offers up to 4% AER variable, flexible access and competitive returns.
Unlike other options on the market, you won't need to hold your money with Tide for a fixed period. That means you'll have instant access and free withdrawals whenever you need it.
You can get started today with just £1, making it easy to start growing your business savings.
Want to know what you'll earn? Tide's clever calculator gives you a clear picture up front.
Our audience will receive £100 cash back when you deposit £5,000 within the first 30 days of opening your Tide Instant Saver account.
Use code JOE, that's JOE, JOE. New members receive an annual equivalent rate of up to 4% AER variable, free for 6 months. For the full offer, visit tide.co/Joe. T's and C's apply.
I think that they are bang on to protest about that hotel being in the area. I think that they are well within their right to be really angry that there are these big groups of people who are waiting processing, who are put into a hotel that usurps a lot of the local council tax that should be spent on things like schools and roads and adult social care, and instead is given to a private landlord, essentially, charging likely above market rate in a hotel that I highly doubt ever sold out, week by week, is making packet off of the taxpayer. They're totally right to be angry, especially as this is a group of men who have likely come from war-torn countries, likely have quite serious mental health issues, put into their communities, guarded by Home Office officials, and policed in a way that is akin to a prison. Yeah, I don't think I would want them next to me either. The problem, though, where the anger is misdirected, because the anger shouldn't be at the people who are in that hotel. The anger should be, one, at the landlord, who clearly doesn't care about the local taxpayers, and the Home Office, who is refusing to process these people correctly and let them work in the way that everyone else is expected to do.
I think you're absolutely bang on about the misdirected anger. And actually, I think you're absolutely right. And that plays into then like a second complaint from local residents about it, which is that we don't know who these people are. And again, it's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Because, all right, some of them, probably the majority of them, have legitimate asylum claims. Some of them won't. But we don't know that. And if someone is sort of, coming here illegally, doesn't have a legitimate claim to asylum and intends to, for instance, allegedly commit crimes, we don't want that person in our community. That's fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not a controversial thing to say.
I'm not sure the actions would have been any different if all these guys had their asylum claims processed and they were settled.
I think that's an easy get at, because they would all be in the same location. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't have like 100 men packed into a tiny old hotel. Like, it's just, I was thinking about this because I went round by the Barbican last night and I was just like having a look, and it's like it's horrific. All of the talk about these being luxury hotels that they're staying in with wonderful en suites and they're living the life of Riley. Bollocks. I can't even believe that hotel was ever functioning, because you look at it and it honestly looks like it looks like it was built in the 70s and then had no work done to it ever. Do you know what I mean? There's like bits of newspaper being used as blinds. There's like dirty blankets coming out of the walls. There are men standing at the window and they look forlorn. Like they look emaciated and they look like prisoners. That's what they look like. Would you want that in your local community? No. These men should be processed. They should then be told, you can now work here and you can have, subsidised rent until you can pay your rent in the same way that anyone else who receives universal credit in this country would. That is what our obligation is to these people underneath the Refugee Convention. It's not to detain them in a hotel.
That's a crucial point, right? Because what you're saying there is that actually the welfare state should be more generous to these people than it currently is.
Yeah, I think we'll reallocate the quote-unquote generosity, because the money that you're spending to put them up in that hotel, it probably is around £200 a night, and they're taking the piss charging the taxpayer that amount of money. You would not have to pay that to £200 is probably what you'd subsidise someone's rent for the month. Do you know what I'm talking about? Compared to a day rate.
You're absolutely right. It's entirely legitimate to be distressed, upset, concerned about the alleged assault of a 14-year-old girl. Like, no right-thinking person goes, "Oh, that's okay. I'm okay with that," right? But it's like the next step, right? It's the taking it from, okay, so that person who's accused of that crime should be arrested. They should stand trial in front of a jury of their peers. They should have legal representation, and we'll come to a conclusion about whether or not it happened. And if it did, they should be punished. Versus, yes, and the demographic group of which he is a part pose a broader threat
Yeah.
to us as a society, and it's that next step that is irrational and, like, in many instances, outright racist.
Thanks to Tide and their instant savings account for sponsoring this week's podcast.
New members receive an annual equivalent rate of up to 4% AER variable.
Our audience will receive £100 cash back when you deposit £5,000 within the first 30 days of opening your Tide Instant Saver account.
Use code JOE. For the full offer, visit tide.co/Joe. T's and C's apply.